You know, and we as nomads, we need to be super hyper vigilant and super hyper responsible and not give people excuses to fear us, to be annoyed by us. Well, summer holidays are over. Back at the parents' house for the first time in 5 weeks. See what kind of trouble they got themselves into? Yes, roles reverse, I'm afraid. But I can't boss them around, so yeah. Anyway, gonna check on them and find out where we're at and then go from there. No idea what this winter is going to bring, none. Oh well, at least it's cool here and on the prairies right now. That's a heck of a lot easier to live with than the heat. So I'm pleased about that. I do feel like a kid going back to school after summer vacation, and kind of glad to have a change of scene and maybe a little bit more routine, a little bit more regulation of the daily rhythm. Anyway, here we go. Go inside, go see him. He built this. He's been building various iterations of the Eiffel Tower. I think he's sick of birdhouses for now. Well, that was an interesting reunion with the folks. Nice to see them and to catch up and to try and figure out what the heck we're going to be doing in the near future. And to digest it all, I've headed out to the east of Edmonton, Fort Saskatchewan. I don't know why. I just knew I could find some shady trees here because it's going to get hot. And you'll have to excuse my somewhat disheveled appearance throughout this video. Okay. I don't do well in the heat. Hi, sweetheart. You're just pets, basically, aren't you? You keep the grass nice and short. Oh, you're sweet. Yes, you are. Oh, yeah, a dog. Hello, pet. You've got some nice grass. Good boy. I find bison help me think. Thank you, Elk Island Park. I did see a few elk as well. But I'm heading back into the city now and joining my meditation group. I'm so grateful for them. Well, hello everybody. Good morning. How are y'all doing? It's the end of summer. End of August here in steamy Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I think I previously said, oh well, the benefit of coming back to the prairies is that it's cooler. No, it's going to be minus, I wish, plus 34 today. We are in an extended heat warning for pretty much all of the province, so there's nowhere to escape to. I think BC is kind of in the same predicament. But anyway, I had to be here. I've come back to deal with assisting my parents, one of whom is moving on the weekend. My stepmother, my dad is going to stay at the lake property that they've lived in for the last many years, and so yeah, there's going to be a little toing and froing, I reckon. It's a very complicated situation, far from being over in terms of having them both settled. So yes, I'm digesting all of that, and once I get this next step done, I'll have to rethink my whole strategy for my life. I'm of course, digesting it and trying to find the positives around it, but it might mean a much more settled routine over the winter, which isn't my natural state of being. As you all know, in for a penny, in for a pound, right? That's what I came back to Canada for, is to be of assistance. And it's kind of like for better or for worse. And right now it just actually seems like it's just for worse. But it's just a reminder that, for me to have a plan, to have a plan for my very elderly old age, and not just to totally wing it and wait for the bits to fall off and the brain to start sliding before you know what you want to do with your later years. I'm here to help, but there's a limit. There's a limit to how much of my own life I'm willing to sacrifice. And of course, you know, they're compos mentis, sort of. It's still up to them to make their own decisions. All right, that's it for now. I'm trying to find shade today. Shade, water. My batteries are running low because my fridge is kicking in like crazy. I want to do something productive, and it's very hard to be productive in a car when it's like 100 degrees outside. I'm also running out of data. Everything's going haywire. It's actually 35 degrees out there in Fahrenheit. Really what I should be doing is finding a nice air-conditioned location to go and spend some time in. Okay, I think I'm ready to make a move. So I'm going to unplug. It's midday. Got a nice full battery bank right now, and my fridge is on its way to cooling down again. So I think I'm going to head to a library and do some work on my computer and maybe work on the future of this dilapidated YouTube channel. Okay, just get through it, Jack. Quit your moaning. Quit your whinging. Just go. Just go. Deal with it. This is your choice, this kind of life. In the summer when it's very, very hot, and in the winter when it's very, very cold, come here, have a little look around. Walking the store is absolutely exhausting and knackering. It is your gymnastics for the day for absolutely nothing, as long as you don't buy anything. But I actually plan on buying a little strawberry yogurt frozen treat, the kid size. Well, IKEA has done a display unit based on First Nations heritage, which is all very honorable. What I particularly liked was they had a little bulletin board set up here for things that some kids have been writing, some First Nations kids have been writing about their First Nations heritage. And this is my favorite. And I think this is kind of true. Certainly progress has been made since I've moved back to Canada. It was one of my great shames, it is one of my great shames, as the descendant of a white European. Well, yes, it's corporate, and some of it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, for sure. But I think the intention is good. I'm finding it quite remarkable that after a year of YouTubing, I have absolutely no difficulty now talking to my phone in public. Well, not so much, as long as I'm not disturbing anybody. That's always my greatest horror, that I'm distracting people from their other little duties and thoughts. Like people that talk on their phones, that FaceTime with their friends on full speaker and buses and the such. How rude. Let's get over that one, please, please. I don't want to hear about your Aunt Gracie's bunions and all of that stuff. Perfect time to visit IKEA. This one is usually absolutely heaving, to the point where there's not even any oxygen left to breathe. And today it is not only cool and lovely, and I can feel my mood lifting because of it, but it's pretty much empty. Yay! So I'm going to concentrate on some upgrades and ideas and inspiration for the minivan. I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. I'm going to find a nice place to sit. So yes, I know it feels like just yesterday that I made a few little upgrades to the minivan, and I have been loath to do anything more fancy or permanent or expensive, because I didn't know whether or not I was going back to the EU, and if I wasn't going to go back to the EU, if I needed to be staying here longer, I was thinking about getting a cargo van, and I finally made my decision. I am not getting a cargo van. I am not going to the EU. I am staying in the country until absolutely necessary, and I want more comfort and more clearance in my van to get me more places. Won't get me everywhere, but here's my thoughts. So I want to, I've been looking at a 3-inch lift kit. for the van and all-terrain tires. Of course, I have to check out all of the suspension and everything first, make sure it's worth it to do this without having to spend thousands on any kind of upgrades or other alterations, and make sure that it's not going to destroy my suspension. So that should allow me to get to a lot more places in the wilderness, places that I want to go. Chewed up my tires pretty badly on the Forest Service roads. So there's that. I still don't want to do a full build out of the van. I'm worried about insurance issues. So modifications, any modifications that you make that are permanent, if you have an accident, you know, you could be looking at some big trouble. So you have to check with your own insurers to make sure if that's something that you're worried about, that you'd be covered. So I'm going for more IKEA type furniture. So I'm here to get some ideas also today for a longer and more substantial storage unit. And I'm going to start tucking things away and making things a little bit more neat and tidy. It's driving me crazy. And of course, the more stuff I accumulate for hiking and skiing and backpacking, the more space I need. And I want it to be accessible. So, and I want a better kitchen area. I always want a better kitchen area. So that's what I'm doing. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to put all that together, get rid of some of the old junk that I've got, or repurpose some of the old furniture that I've got in the van. Just a lot more tidy looking and functional. So let's go do it. I saw a couple of these on Facebook Marketplace for a slightly lower price than that, used. But this would be ideal. So I've still got my 4 storage spaces for cubes on the bottom. And then I can keep my little stove, perhaps all of my electronics and everything in accessible boxes there, whatever I need. So that's an idea. And what I might do is add a kind of butcher's block countertop. Yeah, look at this. You know, this is essentially the same unit. And look how it's set up. Well, the drawers are kind of useless, but even just to put doors on them eventually would be a nice option to have. And then this, yeah, just get the right size baskets to fit in. Yep. Oh dear, I think I've made up my mind a little too quickly. I just got here. Now what am I going to look at? I'll just walk around, feeling smugly content that I am a decisive person. And it is rather pleasant walking around here, I must say. Lovely and cool. Mostly polite people. Okay, let's look at office stuff. Because I'm finding I'm really using my van as an office the majority of the time that I'm in there and awake. I've always had a bit of a fetish for these school metal locker type things. I think I've also always had a stationery fetish. It's really bizarre. Papers and pens. I think it's because when I was little, my mother told me I was going to be the next Dostoevsky or George Sand. So pens and papers took the actual place of talent and ability. Wonky door. So I've also been thinking about my floor anyway. I mean, I could easily level out the floor, put a real floor in the back of the van because it's very uneven. For those of you who don't know, the minivan floors are kind of on different levels. But if you do that, you lose headspace and you lose storage space. So I'm not going to do that. It's easy enough to adjust the furniture to be level. That's that. I mean, when you're living full-time in your van in 4 extreme seasons, you need space over pretty much everything else. Well, space and your diesel-fired heater. And I'm going to put together an emergency bug-out bag, whatever other emergency supplies I'm going to need throughout the winter. I will be going back and forth out to my father quite a bit, and he is a bit out there, and I know what the extreme weather can be like to deal with, particularly if you're in a hurry or it's an emergency. And how does that tie into this video? Well, it's about creating more storage space for all that stuff. and making it accessible, so it requires some thought. Well, it's a bit sparse here today, but that's okay, because I don't really need anything, but I can't resist having a look. Okay, next, Rona hardware store. There's nothing better for inspiration for me than a hardware store. So some of you might be asking yourselves, well, why doesn't she just get a little apartment for the winter? Surely it must be as cheap as all the fuel that I spend and everything else. I've asked myself the same question considering my situation here. Number one, I don't want to lay down roots. Number two, well, the cheapest of the most god-awful little studio flats here is about $1,000 per month. And I still have to have a car. I still have to have a car to get back and forth to the lake. You know, I've still got to pay insurance for that. I've still got to pay maintenance for that. I've still got to pay fuel for that. And then I would have to furnish it. And most likely be in a neighborhood that I don't like. So, you know, all told, no, it's, financially speaking, that would be nuts. And it would force me into probably some hideous, awful, low-paying local job full-time. And then I would have less time and energy and mental capacity for my parents. So no, I want my options open, and the way to do that is to stay a nomad. Something that looks increasingly difficult for my American friends, my American nomads out there. That's something a bit hideous to be watching at the moment. And I have no doubt in my mind it'll make its way up here eventually, in this province anyway. You know, and we as nomads, we need to be super hyper vigilant and super hyper responsible and not give people excuses to fear us, to be annoyed by us. We've got to be good citizens of the road. So that's why. So I might as well make my little mobile home as comfy as I can for now, within an extremely tight budget, and face the winter, face the Arctic winter. It's coming. I can't believe it today, but it is coming. The prices of lumber, of hardware, of tools, everything now, it's just absolutely nuts, nuts, nuts. Another good reason not to build out anything complicated for now. I don't have the wherewithal to collect recycled materials at the moment. If I were to one day build out a cargo van, ready to make a big investment, yeah, it would have to be under different circumstances. For now, as long as I can stay organized and tidy in that little tiny minivan, you know, I can manage another winter. I call this my achy breaky heart store. If I were to become a rabid consumerist, all of my money would be spent here. I am a self-confessed kid queen, and when I do have the budget for it, I buy good stuff. I think about it a lot. I research it endlessly, but then I pull the trigger. Yeah, outdoors activities have become the domain of the relatively well-to-do. And there's so much stuff. There's so much. It's just endless. I mean, you could never be satisfied with what you have, which is precisely why all of the wonderful outdoor gear, backpacking, trekking kind of channels do so well. You know, we're always looking for the next lightest, next best, next most efficient thing. And that is almost more fun than the actual backpacking bit. In fact, I know it is. I'm here to pick up my Garmin InReach Mini 2. And that is an item that has been sponsored for me by an amazing coffee supporter who wishes to remain anonymous. I'm just absolutely continually blown away. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have bought one without her kicking me in the trousers and sponsoring it. So I'm gonna go to the desk and collect that. So many things. So many beautiful, pretty, pretty things. Oh. MEC, Canada's premier backpacking, hiking, outdoor activities store that is non-hunting. Mountain Equipment Co-op. It used to be so great. It was just kind of revolutionary. The members were so-called part owners. And it was great quality and the ethos was right. And then it got sold to the Americans who ruined it with rampant capitalism, probably in Canada, within the right-thinking movement. We lack business acumen. However, it's just recently been bought back. So I'm hoping it returns to its original position as a forward-thinking, right-minded place for all the right reasons. Yeah, go MEC. All right, there she blows.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful, even if it's like mini version.
Yeah, satellite phones are doing the same now, but I want a device that has the battery life.
Yeah.
But this'll do. This is the one. Thank you very much. Got a hell of a deal for a brand new Garmin InReach Mini, so I know the battery life is good. People are asking for very similar amounts of money for used ones, whose provenance you don't know. Thank you to my wonderful coffee supporter. The chap that was helping me get my delivery was trying to tell me all about the Garmin InReach Mini and that mountaineers use it. That's right, to go out for, walks in the mountains and such. I'm just wondering what he thought I was going to use it for. I mean, honestly, what else would you be using a Garmin Mini for? I've had that a couple of times going into backpacking shops here in Alberta, in Edmonton in particular. It's not close to the mountains. They're not experts a lot of the time in the stuff they sell. They're not enthusiasts. I need to get a job with MEC. I wouldn't mind a little either casual or part-time job with MEC. Is anybody from MEC listening? I've got all my bicycle touring knowledge, my backpacking, my tenting knowledge, high-end stuff. I'd be great. I might get a little frustrated by my coworkers. All right, last shops today, and then I'll let you go home and get on with your own lives. I'm at Canadian Tire. Crappy Tire, we call it here. This is a massive one. This is the biggest one I think I've ever seen. And back to preparation for this winter. Just having a little look at what they've got for tire inflation, boosting units. Have a look at like a hitch-mounted cargo carrier for the longer trips. So yeah, I'm all in. I'm going all in, really, to make this van as versatile as possible. Really should get it mechanically checked out first, but anyway, that's what I'm doing here at Crappy Tire. So we'll see you later. We'll see you next one. Next video, yes, next video we'll actually put it all together, all the things I've been dabbling on about. What I have learned today is that I'm in a much better mood in air conditioning. It's been kind of a surly, bad-humored video. Oh well, thanks for coming along anyway. We're all like that sometimes, aren't we? Except my stepmother, she's perfect. Well, once again, thanks for coming along. This was a really yacky-jacky video, wasn't it? Oh well, I guess I do like to talk. I guess I'm gonna have to admit it. Well, anyway, back to the ruminating bison. Get it? Ruminating? Bisons help me think? Never mind. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for the next video, which I hope will be a little bit more fascinating than this one.